it take to be happy? How many times do you have to feel lonely before you get the chance to meet someone, before you get to meet someone like you? How many songs can you write about heartbreak? How to go on when you're fed up with mistakes? Maybe I just found the answers. Maybe I just found the answers in you. Come give me all your love.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephens. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephens. Live life. Live fully.
So welcome to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephens. My name is Omobola Stephens, and so on today's show, I want to be discussing about relationship and life issues, which is very important. I have a guest with me on today's show. Really, she's an amazing and superwoman, Christine Barnwell. Christine Barnwell is a life balance coach and a podcast host. Christine Barnwell helps overwhelmed and busy people declutter their lives, create healthy daily habits to maintain a sustainable lifestyle, and then create their life by design and achieve all their goals. Christine is also a world champion ballroom dancer, podcast host of Today Over Tea, and she loves traveling the world with the love of her life, love to voyage. Now, if you want to know about the love of her life, simply visit the Facebook page, Love to Voyage, and I promise you a really, really worthwhile experience as you do so. Welcome on Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephens, Christine Barnwell.
Thank you so much for having me. That was quite an introduction. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming to the show. So can I just, please, can I meet you?
Yes. So as you said, I don't know what else I could say besides what you've already said, but yeah, I'm Christine Barnwell, and I'm a life balance coach, a world champion ballroom dancer, and a podcast host of Today Over Tea. So we have conversations. We start the conversation about things that are difficult to talk about, and we talk about them in a very productive and healthy way. I love helping people, and throughout my career, I've been able to work with a lot of amazing people. And so now, as a life balance coach, I've developed a program where I help people develop healthy habits that create a sustainable lifestyle, that help people balance their life, and then they can decide what they actually want out of life, create a happiness list, and they can create their life by design. And I'm able to showcase that amazing life with my fiance, and we're getting married next year, which is awesome. And we travel the world, we dance together. He's amazing. And but you know what the cool part is that we're still figuring it out as we go, and I love to show people the realness, because we don't have it all figured out, and you know, life is hard for everybody at times, and it's in my coaching practice, it's how I teach people how to deal with that. And you know, don't just rely on all the good days. When every 5 or 6 days, if you have a bad day, how do we move through that, and how do we use practices, techniques, exercises to help you overcome those bad days so that you can get back to the good days?
Right. Thanks so much for that. So, coach, how do you strike a balance when it comes to your family, your career, or your job?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, work-life balance and family balance is extremely important. And I think that goes back to something we talked about previously. It's about setting boundaries for yourself and making sure that you schedule things out and you try to be as diligent as possible, so that you don't allow yourself to get sucked into too much family stuff that's overwhelming, or too much work. A lot of people, I think, are on the opposite end of the spectrum. They don't know how to take a break, right? They're just work all the time. And so I think the most important part is just, you know, work towards your values. What are your values? And if how are you spending your time? And if how you're spending your time lines up with your values, then you're doing pretty well. But if you write down all of the things that you value, for example, if you value family, if you value traveling, if you value nutrition, health and happiness, or whatever it is that your values are, and then how are you spending your time? Are you spending your time cooking for yourself? Are you spending your time eating out a lot? Are you spending your time partying? You know, are you spending time with family, or are you doing your own thing? Like, how did are you spending time scrolling through Instagram like a lot of us do? Those energy consumers need to line up with your values. And then I think that you can start to understand, again, it's just daily, consistent habits that you implement into your life. And that's kind of a lot of the things that I touch on, is to start small, because it's very overwhelming. And if you're already overwhelmed, then it's going to be even more overwhelming to take on all these life changes. So you have to start with one at a time to start to see the real changes in your life.
That's right. Thank you so much for that. So do you want to talk about balancing your priorities?
Yeah, balancing your priorities. So again, what is your priority? Like, a priority can be anything that you want it to be, but it has to line up with who you are and your values. Like, what is your inner self trying to tell you? If your priorities are going out and partying, or, you know, and those are not bad things. It just depends on where you are in your life. And if you are in a place where you want to have a good time and you know, be carefree, and maybe you have some ways of making income, you know, whatever, then that's great. But again, it goes back to your value system. What is it that you value, and where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? Are you working now towards that? And I think that's where your priorities are going to find their place, is, you know, what you value and where you want to see yourself in 5 years. If you're not working towards it now, you're manifesting everything you want now and working towards everything you want now for the future. So.
Right. Thank you so much. I know that you are a relationship person, so I want us to delve into relationships.
Sure.
If you do mind.
No, not at all. I love talking about relationships.
So why do men hate it when women get overly emotional?
I think men don't understand when women get emotional, because they don't deal with emotions the same way that women do. And that's not a judgment, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a fact. So I think the sooner that we all understand that men deal with things differently than women do, and some women differently than others, you know, everyone's going to be different. This is not a stereotype by any means, but just understanding how we all deal with things, the sooner we can have those real conversations that are going to lead to productive relationships and productive change in your relationships.
Right. So I come to understand that men often express themselves sexually, right? So I believe that's probably they're trying to hide under the guise of, I don't know. So sometimes I feel that they're just taking advantage of me or any other lady out there. So what do you want to discuss? What do you want to say to this? Why do men love to express themselves sexually? Why can't they express themselves in another way? Why should it be sexually?
So I wouldn't put that stereotype on all men. I would say that's not, maybe if depends on the type of men that you're coming in contact with. I would say, yes, men are a lot more sexually driven and physical in that way. But again, that goes back to what we were talking about before, the 5 love languages. You know, if one of them is physical touch, if that person's love language is physical touch, then that is how they're going to express themselves, which is totally fine. But it's a matter, again, everything is balance. You can't constantly be, just because my love language is quality time, that doesn't mean that I want you to spend 24/7 with me. You know, that doesn't make any sense. It has to be a nice balance, right? So I think I think that I've known a lot of women that are more sexually charged than men. Like that is definitely not a stereotype just for men. I think at one point in my life, I was definitely a lot more that on the physical side than the emotional side. But I think we all just find those paths in our life, you know? So if, again, it has to match up. If you're talking about a relationship, there's no judgment to one person, how they are. But if you're talking about then sharing your life with another person, and if that tends to be something that doesn't fit in with that person's values or something like that, or it's just not working, then a conversation needs to be had, and then you can move forward and say, okay, we're going to put work into this because I want this to work. Or, you know what, maybe you're not my person, and we need to amicably just agree that this is not the path for us, and then we move on, you know?
Right.
But again, I think people stay in relationships too long to try to make it work when deep down inside they already know it's not going to work. The red flags are there. Just listen to them.
Right.
You can try and try and try. And also my biggest advice to women is don't try to change a man. If you're going into it and you see that this person is like 90% everything you want, and then it's like, oh, but I can change the 10%. That's not the point. That's not your job to do that. You're never going to find someone who's 100% what you want. You just, the part of them that you like is part of the part that you didn't want on your list, I guess, you know, like you embrace their strengths and their weaknesses and their loves and their hates and all of that. But the idea is you want someone that matches up with you the most that you can.
That's
you know,
right.
but my favorite part about my fiance, a lot of it is that he is different from me. He's way more patient than I am. He is way more compassionate, you know, like I'm very business oriented and quick and go, and I have to, I'm a very kind person and I love people and I will help anyone that needs me, but he is, he's much softer than I am. And I'm a little bit, you know, hard, rough, let's go, let's get it done kind of person. And that works in business, but it doesn't always work sometimes in the other areas. So I have learned how now that I work with people, like how to be more soft and compassionate. And that's a skill that you know, acquire or you just have. It just depends. But
that's right. Just like opposites attract. And so that's just the beauty of relationships. We are meant to complement each other. That's just that.
Exactly.
You can get it.
I don't want someone just like me. It doesn't make any sense because then I have two of me, and all the things I can't do, then that person can't do as well. So the things that I don't want to do or that I can't do, he does brilliantly, and vice versa. And it's amazing. Like, yeah.
So how about you having a man who just sit like a couch potato and just watch you do all the things in the house? You know, so what you say to that? Because I believe that some men have it like, oh, I think she's just a girl to take home to mama. She's dutiful. She can just do all the things in the house while I just sit like a couch potato. So what do you say to those kind of relationship? Is it worth having, or you just simply walk away?
I mean, again, it's just a matter of what you want. If you're the type of woman who loves to take care of the house and clean and cook and take care of the kids and all those things, but he focuses on other areas that you don't do, then it's worth it. I don't see that as like a couch potato. Now, a couch potato would be someone that just sits on the couch and watches football games all day long and doesn't help or do anything when you need the help. You know, if you need something and he gets up and does it, then I don't see a problem with that. Some women are like, well, I wish I didn't have to ask. Well, that's another thing, is like, he's not going to read your mind. Like, yes, you want him to be proactive for sure. And there's some times where, you know, my fiance, we get in, you know, he carries everything in the house and then, you know, puts it on the counter and I put it away, but sometimes he helps me, sometimes he doesn't. But there's not, again, it's picking your battles. Like, is that really that big of a deal? Now, if it's someone who's not doing things consistently and becoming very, very lazy in your relationship, if he's becoming lazy in those things, then he's going to become lazy in other things. And absolutely. But again, it's not just a guy. I feel like girls do the same thing. They get lazy in other areas that guys need. And so I would not pin it just on the men. I would say both need to do their part to be invested in this relationship. And a lot of times for women, it's emotionally. you know, like for men, they need to be more invested, you know, to communicate and to emotionally as well. But for women, sometimes it can be more sexually, like, or any of those types of things. Like it just, you have to find that balance and make it physical, make it concrete, and just be like, what is it that you're really upset about? Right? Because what you're saying is probably not as bad as what it really is. And he's right. Sometimes we make it so much bigger in our head. Like I said, men and women can both do that, but most of the time women, we overcomplicate things a lot. And he can help me to ground myself and take it, and what are we really solving? And if we solve that problem, do all of these other things go away? You know? And so again, that's just having a really supportive partner and making sure that he wants you to be healthy and happy, and he wants to be a part of that journey with you. We're 4 years in and we're still having those types of conversations, but we have them much more productively. It's more productive now than it was in year one, because we understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish, and we see the long-term goal, and we see what we've done in the past. And if it doesn't work that way, then we do things different.
That's right. Brilliant. Thank you for that clarification. Very brilliant. I can access. So if I decided as a lady that I want to work out of a relationship, and you have a guy, big guy, still coming around, you know, to check in on you. So is it proper for me to give him a second chance?
I'm not big on the whole breakup, get back together thing. But I did see an example last night on Dancing with the Stars with, I don't know if anyone watches Cheer, but Monica Aldama. She discussed how she fell in love with her high school sweetheart, and then they got married and everything was great. And then life got in the way, and the more responsibilities they added to their life, the more, you know, they took it out on each other, and they got a divorce. And then they realized a year later that they were really each other's soulmates, and they got remarried. I think it's a beautiful story. I think it can totally happen. I think it has to be both people wanting to work on it. If you, I think the biggest problem is that women decide, I'm going to take him back, and it's going to be better this time because I'm going to make him better. And I know now what is wrong, and I'm going to fix it. That's, it's going to fail again. I can tell you that right now. But if you go into it and you have the conversations, the hard ones, and if he wants to make it work as well, and you're like, but listen, we cannot, because that's what they did. Monica and her husband, they said, they put each other first. They had lots of conversations getting back into their marriage, and they were like, this cannot happen again. We cannot take each other for granted. We cannot, you know, lose love with each other. We cannot blame everything on each other. Like they were ready for that, and now they're stronger than ever, and they don't take for granted what they went through. Some people need to go through that, I guess, to know what they're losing. But if you're going to go through the process of taking someone back, then you have to both be willing to work on it.
That's right.
That's it. Every day is a choice to be with that person, whether you're dating, engaged, married, whatever. Like every day is a choice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kristen Barnell, for coming to the show once again. I wanted to ask, do you have any project you're working on presently?
You know, yeah, we're always working on something. Definitely my podcast. Like I'm always working on new episodes and all those types of things. You can find it on YouTube and Apple and Spotify and, you know, all the where podcasts are. So it's called Today Over Tea. And we have about 16 episodes out right now. We're going to be filming one next week. So yeah, so that's great. And yeah, and my life coaching business is really what I'm developing right now. I'm just taking it to the next level this year, and it's just been incredible. I'm doing a lot of private coachings, but I'm also doing, I have a free ebook out that people can get on my website, is www.christinebarnoel.com. Yeah, just, you know, loving, if anybody wants to talk, I do 15-minute discovery calls just to kind of see where you're at, to see if I can help you, or if you just need to talk it out and see where you're at. Some people, they think they need all this help, and then they realize, oh, I guess I don't need that much help. They think they need everyone thinks they need a therapist sometimes, but sometimes you just need a life coach, someone who can help guide you. You know, therapy is more the past, the PTSD, you know, dealing with trauma in your life. And sometimes people just feel overwhelmed because of life's responsibilities and society, and they just need someone to help guide them and have a good conversation with. And then you can lead to what's going to happen now. Should we do this once a week? Is it that serious? Or sometimes it's just because you need to be kept on track because you have a lot of responsibilities in your life and you don't know how to balance them. And that's kind of why I love what I do, is because I think it can relate to so many different people, because everybody needs to have balance in their life, but nobody teaches you how to do it. Absolutely. No school, no certification, like nobody teaches you how to do that. You just have to kind of trial and error. And I've found so many things that are proven to work time and time and time again. And I use them with my family members, my friends, my, you know, of course, my clients, but I've used them first with them to see how all of these things work, and they do, and they're productive and they're efficient. And
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. I wish you best of luck in your project.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephens. It's an engaging and enlightening talk show on life, relationships, and the business of life. Grab a cup of juice and just chill. Life Well Lived by Omobola Stephens. Live life. Live fully.
Your style, ditch your friends, just come and hang out. To the bar and to the back. I just wanna touch you